Hello, I'm Robert Emmett Hernan. I'm the publisher of Irish Environment, an online resource for environmental matters on the island of Ireland. We're here today in another our series of conversations on environmental matters. I'm very pleased today to be welcoming Sue Christie, the head of Northern Ireland Environment Link. You're very welcome, Sue.
Thank you.
So I wonder if you could give our audience a sense of your background and career path that brought you here to Northern Ireland Environmental Link.
I grew up in California, went to grad school in Minnesota, and got a PhD in ecology and behavioral biology. Came over to Liverpool and ultimately Belfast to do postgraduate work. Ended up staying here, and I've been working since the early 1980s in Northern Ireland environment agencies of various sorts, and with Environment Link since 1991.
And when was the Environment Links founded?
It was founded in about 1989, and it's part of a UK-wide group of Environment Links, one in each of the countries, England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, trying to bring a coordinated voice to the voluntary sector. And
what is it that the Environment Link does?
We work primarily with our member organizations. We have full member organizations who are environmental organizations, everything from community groups to umbrella bodies such as Rural Community Network to the big classic environmental organizations such as the National Trust, Worldwide Fund for Nature, Wildflower Wetlands Trust. We have 55 full members, and in addition to that, we work with a number of associate members who can be individuals or governmental organizations. So we try and bring a coordinated voice to all of those, which we can then use to develop policy, promote policy, and encourage more environmentally friendly behavior on behalf of Northern Ireland, the people and government as a whole.
Now, what would be the size of the smallest organization that's part of the link, and what's the size of the largest, if you have a sense of that?
The smallest would be one of our community groups, possibly Green Island Residents Association, and how many members I would have, I don't know, 20 or 30. Largest would probably be the National Trust, and I think they have 40 or so thousand members in Northern Ireland. Okay. So quite a range. And then of course we go to the international organizations with a local presence such as WWF, who would represent, well, millions globally.
So it's quite a large organization, the link itself.
Well, no, we're not very large, but we represent a lot.
in terms of what you represent, yeah.
We like to say that we represent something like 80 to 100,000 individuals in Northern Ireland, which is actually bigger than any of the individual political parties. Now, there may be some double counting, and that people may be members of both the National Trust and the WWF. But it's still a sizable constituency, and we do feel that we represent a strong voice out there in the public, which is often not listened to as a coherent voice by government.
The Environment Link does a great many things. It does networking, it produces fact sheets on various environmental issues, produces a very useful monthly newsletter. It provides representation on government and other committees on behalf of its members. It creates task force to address issues. It creates briefing notes and does consultations. And it seems to me the consultations is probably one of its core functions and probably the most complicated. Can you tell us how that consultation process works with so many organizations and so many disparate interests in some ways? It's
quite interesting. It is one of our core functions. It is something that the Department of the Environment, through its agency, is very keen that we do. It's basically commenting on government consultation documents. And no matter how hard we try in terms of reducing the numbers of these that we do, we probably are commenting on 35 of those every year, which is 2 or 3 a month, and it really does keep us busy. Because we are seen as a central coordinating body, that is seen as a useful place to get input to these consultations. And they range across the entire environmental sphere. All departments, probably more in the standard departments, Department of Regional Development, Department of Environment, of course, Department of Enterprise, Trade and Industry, Agriculture, would have more than some of the more relevant ones to us than health or even education. But we do comment where it is necessary to give an environmental viewpoint. How we do that is we have a hierarchy of ways to do things, but if there's a member who's particularly relevant, we try and get their input very soon and use it to develop a NEIL view. The NEIL view is something that can be agreed by all members. It therefore is generally quite general, quite all-encompassing, quite environmental, as opposed to looking in great detail at specific issues at the moment. Where we have specific expertise and there maybe isn't a huge voice in the sector, we would go in greater detail. There was recent Waste Framework Directive revision, and we did quite an extensive consultation on that, because there aren't that many waste groups in Northern Ireland, and therefore having an additional strong voice is good. Sometimes our contribution will be, we support the views put forward by the National Trust in this issue, and not a heck of a lot beyond that. The flip side of this is that we prepare a comment that is general enough that, and then we send it out to all of our members. They then can comment on that and modify it if they wish. But more importantly, we encourage them to submit their own comments, possibly based on that consultation document, so that it gets a wider, stronger strength into government, that it is not just Neil and saying this, it is also the National Trust, Action Renewables, et cetera, et cetera.
So besides Neil, Northern Ireland Environmental Link, individual groups will also provide comments on the consultation. And are there times or provisions if an organization wants to cop out of a position being taken by the link? That is, if the link takes a certain position and a particular organization really doesn't accept it or buy into that, can they opt out, or they don't bother? We
don't really work that way, because it would be, first of all, we try not to get to that situation where we're in an opposition with one member versus another. There are occasional times when there are immovable forces and irreconcilable objects and things. What we generally try and do in those circumstances is come up with a compromise position. If we can't reach a position that is agreeable to both sides, we will just not comment on that aspects of the consultation. And that would, that happens very, very rarely, to be perfectly honest, because we are doing it in a general way. We're not going into great detail about the there's one at the moment that's live on permitted development rights for renewable energy. Action Renewables are the experts on this. They have all sorts of technical knowledge, and we have mostly copied their recommendations. However, in some places they are making technical comments that we just have no basis to say anything about. So we say no comment on that. And in some places, because our other members would be very keen on having extra protection, for example, in areas that are adjacent to ASSIs or within AINBs or something of that sort, where we actually go counter to the Action Renewable point. But as long as I talk to the Chief Executive of Action Renewables, who says, yeah, that's no problem, I understand that.